let's normalize living how the we want to live. He didn't want to say it, but I'm saying it. Let's normalize living how the we want to live. Welcome back, everybody, to Just a No podcast, where we make knowledge your strongest weapon.
What's up, folks? We hope everybody's doing well today. Welcome back to the show. As you already know, your boy Nas over here, your boy Just. And today, I'm trying to piss some of y'all off.
Hopefully we do, and hopefully I do too. But today we're going to talk about standing on what you believe in life. As people, we have a purpose. And the only way that we feel fulfilled in our lives is accomplishing things that we believe in and things that we want to procure to the world. So standing on what you believe is when you're going to be the most happiness, because when you falter to other people's opinions on what they want to do that affects your actions, at the end of the day, you're not going to be satisfied because it's not what you really want.
Yeah, I want to start off by saying we live in a day and age where it feels like every day we wake up and every interaction we have, somebody is trying to make us submit to their way, their beliefs, their way of life, their principles, their morals in life. And even though I think that's part of human nature to, if you think you're living correctly or you're behaving properly, to want to influence somebody you're interacting with to maybe partner, be your partner, or invite them to behave the same way or to incorporate the same beliefs in their life. But I think it's gone a little bit too far.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, growing up, I feel that it's majority of the things we're taught as children, starting from a young age, is being respectful, being kind, considerate, and not kind of overstepping boundaries and transgressing into the land of, okay, now you're trying to force me to behave or force me to agree with you. And my belief of why this has been very successful, and we see so many people foregoing and forfeiting their 40-year-old beliefs all of a sudden, it's because they feel so much pressure by the masses of people that tell them and point out to them that this isn't the way and this isn't the proper way and this isn't the best way and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And I think that's the biggest reason why it's allowed to continue, is because most people don't have that courage for a lifetime of putting their foot down and like, no is no. I'm not about that. I don't accept that. And for me to be more specific, I guess you could say, this normalizing culture, where let's normalize this and let's normalize that. How about let's normalize letting people live the way however they want, and stop trying to force somebody to be okay with how you're living. And what I mean by that is, if there's something I don't tolerate, I don't accept, I don't abide by, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to antagonize or attack you for living like that. But there is no room, at least I can say this for myself, there's no room for letting somebody else convince me of changing what I lived my life based on and what principles that I held near and dear to me, just because, it's normal now. We're normalizing this. Everybody does this no more. I don't give a shit what everybody does, and you shouldn't either. And the only way to stop this regression that we're seeing in society, where we're just normalizing everything, is for the people who do think that they're living and feel that what they possess in terms of morals, ethics, the way they behave. Those people gotta stand strong on that. And it doesn't matter what comes your way, what's thrown at you, how much pressure, how many people, whatever the hell, what influences from the outside are basically forced upon you at this point in time. You just gotta. I'm not giving in, and this is a rough one because it's very easy. We see it all the time where people, will say things like, for example, clips of high profile people saying something from 15 years ago. Now all of a sudden, 15 years later, they're apologizing for that shit, even though back then, nobody pressured them to apologize. Nobody really cared. There wasn't a lot of people who were, giving them backlash and calling this shit out because it wasn't that serious at the time. And with each passing year, we've grown into a society where we basically force people to join us in our fuckery. And I'm speaking from the terms of we. I'm using we, but I'm trying to eliminate myself from that group of people.
As a group of people. And just like how he said, let's normalize living how the fuck we want to live. He didn't want to say it, but I'm saying it. Let's normalize living how the fuck we want to live. Now, in saying of that, live your self-truth and understand that everything that you do comes with consequences, right? But don't you dare force your rhetoric or your morals or whatever that you believe in on other people. If they choose to live their life the way how they want to live, let them live the way to their personal truth. Don't ever force it on other people. And that's a thing now that we have this Me Too society that we have, is that we try to change somebody's ideals and views to the point where we're forcing them to. And I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody truly learns and listens under force. Never. Because if they don't peacefully understand what you're trying to portray, it's going to be more so a pressure on them. And whenever you're forced against pressure, and this is normal human nature, when this pressure's upon you, one, you act irrationally towards it because nobody likes resistance. And secondly, you're going to rebel towards it. So the best way to conform somebody and to even have them in a certain way of the way you think is to nicely tell them why you think this way, why you should live this way, and then they can choose whatever they do with that information. Maybe it might get them to the point where they're sitting down and by themselves and really thinking like, okay, what he said is kind of true. Let me try it out. And then they actually change. Not like, you got to do this right now or else. That's not a culture that we need to.
Or else you're canceled, or else you can't work here,
Exactly.
or else we're pressing charges, or else you're going to be labeled as this. All this shit is getting out of control.
Out of control.
And I'm not going to lie to you. In terms of, chasing your dreams, your careers, your aspirations, specifically in the Western world, it feels like you could only do that when you're abiding by whatever the new normalizing is, whatever has been recently normalized.
But you know what's crazy about that? Not to cut you. Honestly, if you fall victim to this, normalizing culture, it's always going to change. Somebody's always going to have an opinion that's going to change the masses, and you're going to continuously be changing, and you're never going to be your true self. So why not stand on what you believe, at least? Because this is for me personally. I rather deal with a person that is stuck on this way and this is how they are, and they portray that to me in person so that I can see who they truly are and know whether I'm going to be around that person or if I'm going to distance myself from that person. Now, the problem is when people want to normalize things that they're not actually intertwined with. They're lying. They're throwing a facade. So that's the type of person that you can't be around because you never know his true intentions, ever. So stand on what you believe, people. Don't let anybody try to tell you like this is something that you should not be doing. But understand this. There's a right and there's a wrong, right? Whatever you do comes with a consequence. Be aware and be fine with those consequences. And I will respect you. I will respect the person that does something and that stands on his 2 feet or stands on her 2 feet about what they believe in. And then I could say, like, that's a respectable person, regardless of whatever they done. They stood on what they are. Not for a person that's, one day let me just be with the masses and I feel this way too, supposedly.
And then when the masses feel a different way, all of a sudden that
Oh
person
no, let me go to this way. Like, when are you gonna be your true self? At that point, you're a clone. You're not yourself. And this video is really supposed to be for letting everyone know to be your true self. Because when you're your true self at your lowest, at your highest, at your midpoint, you will be the happiest because that's something you truly want to be.
I feel like dignity is almost a forgotten, trait
And confidence too.
in people. Like, you're not allowed to have dignity no more. As soon as you're in a work environment that all your coworkers do something, or you're in a school environment where or you're in a team, a sport, whatever you're doing, and everybody does this. As soon as you go against that, people try to, demonize you and attack you for just not participating in the things they choose to participate. So you got the choice to participate in this, but I'm slowly being coerced into participating. How does that add up? And then, like you said too, when you're not true to yourself, no matter what is going on outside, when your inner self is constantly changing, even though it's a false change, a temporary, forced change, when you're that type of person, first of all, you're not good to be around. You're not respectable. You have no honor. You have no dignity. You don't have, as soon as everything else changes, you're following suit, so you're not reliable of a person. You're very easily swayed, so if I'm going into business with somebody, I don't want to be with somebody who, if God forbid in 20 years, we normalize, robbing your business partner, then he's going to join that wave of robbing, that's kind of like random and, probably not reasonable, but, just for example's sake, I'm not going into business. I'm not going into anything, a friendship, a relationship of any sort with somebody who is going to change according to what's going on outside. I sat down with you and you exhibited A, B, and C personality traits and characteristics. And now I have to hope that in 10 years that don't change. Like, nobody really wants to be around that. Or at least I know I don't want to be around that. I'm sick of this shit. I don't even, honestly, it's hard to make friends nowadays, like genuine friends, and build genuine relationships with anybody nowadays, because somebody today, in 2 years, if something weird or funky to you is normalized and they decide to participate in that, now you all of a sudden lose respect for them over something that you really couldn't see coming.
Let me put it in terms of animals' perspective, because I think this is a very basic way how to explain it. If you're a sheep and you want to hang amongst sheeps and you think the person that you're hanging around is a sheep, then you're going to be doing sheep things and you're going to feel comfortable. But what's going on in today's world is that people are sheeps. They're acting like sheeps, but they have a costume on. So they're actually a snake in the background, but they're acting like a sheep because it's the normal thing to be. Listen, I rather you show your true colors, and then at least I know that if I coerce with you, it'll be my detriment because I chose that, not because I thought that you were. You're false advertisement at this point. And nobody likes a person that's fake, because you can never be true to that person because you never know their ideals or whatever they have you. You know what I'm saying? So stand on whatever you believe. Be that person that you are. Don't ever falter on what you believe in and stay true to it. Because all we have as people are our goals, our aspirations, and our morals. That's the main basis of any person that walks this planet today. And put it like this: if we're in the Me Too culture or the normalizing culture, or whatever have you, imagine when you're saying your goals, and this happens at back before then, this time, whatever. You're labeled as a crazy person for thinking outside of the box, right? So say if put it like this: look at Jeff Bezos, right? Look at Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all these people. I promise you, when they were going up to their, let's not say fame, but let's say success, people were saying like, "Oh, you shouldn't do this because it's crazy. Most people can't do this." But okay, most people can't do it. Why? Because it's a 1% thing. But what you got to understand is that you're going to be labeled as crazy, and sometimes crazy is good because crazy sometimes moves the needle on society getting better, because it's that one person that stood on their beliefs and what they believed in and what they saw for their future and accomplished it. Now, is it going to take you a long time, or is it take you, a short period of time? Nobody knows. But at least somebody could say once your story is done that you stood on whatever you believed in. And let's say this. Put it as like a leader, right? When the people rally against you, not against you, with you, are what? Because of what you believed in, what you said. Now, once you become that leader and you do something completely opposite, what usually happens? They don't trust you anymore, and they don't want you as a leader. And that's how you should take it in life. At least when somebody talks about you, it won't be no falsery, no facade. It'll be, yes, that person stood exactly on what they said. There's no guessing game. If I said that I'm going to work my hardest regardless of whatever I do, and I don't care if the outside world is telling me to relax, telling me to take a vacation, telling me to stop, and I keep going towards my goal and I become successful, guess what? The people that were telling me, "Oh, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that," they're still in the same place. But I reached my success and reached my goals because I wanted to be better than the current version of myself. And if you normalize with other people, you're going to stay in the normal state. Because normal and exception are completely two different things. And the people who are more successful or the most successful are the exception, not the normality.
Yeah. This is gonna be a example that a lot of people might misinterpret. I don't give a shit. Okay, so I have a respect for former U.S. President Donald Trump. Politics aside, leave all the politics outside of it. I don't care. I'm not a fan or necessarily against anything in terms of his political career. That's not the point I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to say is he is the only president, at least to my memory, to my knowledge, that it was pretty clear where his head was at, because he never shied away from really speaking not what anybody else told him to say, what he wanted to say, what he was about, what he stood on. Again, leave the politics out of this. If you want to take that away from what I'm saying, if you want to include, "Oh, I'm a supporter, blah, blah, blah," that's your loss. You're just an airhead. I'm saying that it's respectable from man to man, human to human, to know that the person that I am currently listening to speak, the person that is in front of me explaining his train of thought, his way of life, his course of action that he is intending to take, is actually being sincere, and it's not influenced by the public pressure, by the amount of risk versus gain there is for him. Nothing really influences it. It comes from him. It's what he's accustomed to. It's what he believes in. That's respectable in any person, bad or good person, successful, unsuccessful. Anybody that is honest and blunt and isn't easily manipulated and forced into submitting to the masses, which again is the sheep, then that person is respectable. Whether you agree or like how they behave or any of that, that's a different subject. I'm just saying it's respectable and it's honorable to know that this person, it didn't matter what came his way, what was thrown at him, what threats he faced, what pressures of cancellation he faced, that he stood on that. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's means for a respectable, honest person in a certain aspect of life. And to go even further, I do want to touch base on the current state of schooling and the systems that we're trying to incorporate into schooling. Like from a young age, it's so much easier to manipulate somebody's mind. And what's going on nowadays is that people who have extreme thoughts, ways of life, they're trying to force that. And Andrew Tate touched upon this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty funny because a lot of people probably already, all right, let me not say a lot. There was a small portion of people who probably already thought about this for their future in terms of raising kids and whatnot. And he kind of just came out and blatantly said it, which I loved, by the way. They're trying to force their ideologies onto our children. So for me personally, as difficult as I find it to, have to fight every day to maintain my integrity and stand on what I believe in, imagine the difficulty a child will face in the future. So I think we really got to take into consideration that accepting people, letting people, live peacefully without harming them is one thing. You live according to how you want to live. I'll live according to how I want to live. Cool. But then there's a further step now where we're trying to bring that person onto, into our side, onto join us in our journey of bullshit, of low quality living. And I think that is a red line that shouldn't be crossed. And it's being crossed more every day. And people who generally are upstanding, respectable people are losing that very aspect about themselves because of the pressures they face, whether it's the community they live in, the job that they have, the high profile person that they are. We've seen so many people come out, and I'm not going to use any specific examples, but come out and retract something they might have said 10 years ago. And at the time when they said it, it was really something they firmly stood on, all the way up until they were forced to basically either pick between your livelihood or
What you said. Which is crazy.
Right?
It's just words at the end of the day.
We're either going to destroy you or you have to just, agree with how we think and what we say you should say and what we say you should act upon and blah, blah, blah. All this.
At that point, we
fuck the livelihood.
At that point, we don't have our own minds. At that point, if we convert to everything that other people would say, at the point we might as well just put our brains inside of a pot and just everybody just thinks the way how everybody is and just be like I want to say is the Giver. You know how it's a book that we read in school where everything was gray. There was no colors. There was no personality, and that's what makes the world
no emotions, no desires,
nothing. Just everybody does their specific job and that's it. They don't have any emotions. They don't have any thoughts. They don't have any processes that they want. And that's really what this world is trying to give into right now, is just forcing them people to think how other people think. And like I said, you are okay to have the thought process that you have as long as it doesn't affect the life of another person. But don't try to force that rhetoric onto other people. That's all I'm trying to say. If you feel like you want to live this way, go ahead and live that way. As long as it doesn't affect someone else, then it's perfectly fine. But to force that on another person is crazy. It is absolutely crazy.
To threaten people's freedom, threaten people's
over
livelihood,
words,
careers,
over their thoughts. It's crazy.
To threaten people's safety.
Over words, bro. Over words is crazy.
And usually the people that are getting threatened are the most peaceful people. It's the ones that are usually getting threatened to lose their career, lose their job, lose whatever it is that they got going on, lose their business, to get canceled, whatever you want to call it. People usually receiving getting forced to abide by certain ways of life are usually the ones that just say like, hey, cool. It's cool that you live like this.
But I can't.
And I'm entitled to live however I want too. It's never like the people that are like, like attacking aggressively or being violent or going about it in a very unprofessional, improper manner. It's always the people who are like, hey, listen, bro, I'm okay with you doing what you gotta do. Just don't bring that over here.
Exactly.
And what I do, I'm also not gonna bring it over there. Just keep your, we got a mutual respect of, okay, this is how you live, this is how I live. Like, for example, I don't eat pork. Don't come to my fucking backyard and cook no pork.
Exactly.
You can eat pork in your house. I don't care what you do in your crib.
But just don't
come to my backyard and cook no pork.
That's it.
So now we're living in a society where it's like people are trying to force their way into your backyard as a non-pork eating individual and fuck your backyard. They want to cook that shit in your kitchen, bro.
In your kitchen, yep.
And then matter of fact, they want you to eat it too. And
it's crazy. Like I don't understand how we ever came to a point where we feel good that somebody thinks just like us. At the end of the day, when you speak, there are going to be some people, whether it be good or bad, that's going to agree with you, and there's some people that's going to disagree with you. And then people are in this circle, like everybody has to agree. There's no way on God's green earth that everyone is going to agree with you. That is impossible. So stop trying to force your ideals on other people. If you live that way and that makes you happy, okay. If you want to say certain things, right, and other people agree with you, okay, you guys are like-minded. If people disagree with you, then the disagreeing people will be just like the other people that are like-minded like them. But for you to try to convert them over to your side forcefully is obscene to me, okay? Because at the end of the day, you live how you want to live. When you're in your house, you're going to have your thoughts because nobody could read minds. I don't think nobody has that superpower, right?
nah.
So the fact of that matter is, right, I'd rather somebody who is 100,000% on what they believe in, and I know that they're a believer of that, and I could stay clear of them. Now, you trying to force your rhetoric on other people are going to just, okay. It's just basically like in school. Everyone try to be cool, but not everybody is that cool person. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody does it doesn't mean that.
Not to cut you off, like what the fuck even is cool? What is even normal? So I feel like the point we're both trying to make here is like there ain't no normal. There's your normal, my normal. There's your cool, my cool, but your cool is not my cool. And you can't convince me to like the same things, to respect the same things, to abide by the same things that you abide by. As long as we're not physically harming each other or tearing each other down, it should be perfectly fine. Nobody's saying being an extremist in any way. I'm the complete opposite of that. Just let me be. I'm gonna let you be. Don't come knocking at my door talking about, hey, bro, could I cook pork on your stove? Like, nah, I don't want. No, you can't. You could go do that on your stove.
And I'm also gonna say this too. Like, all right, the only way that I understand is normalizing cultures for things that are normal in the human nature, right? That's everybody should be a part of. Like being respectful, knowing how to talk to people, not putting your hands on people, not physically harming people, not to verbally abuse people. Those are things that we should be normalizing as a people, right? We're choosing to normalize things that has no justification in our lives. So put it like this. You like blue. I like green. Because you like blue so hard, you're trying to force me to like blue. What does me liking green have anything to do with your life? Does it have any type of big... Is it harm you in any way?
Nope.
Is it changing your mind in any way?
Nope.
Does it change your life in any way? So why can't we live like that?
It's not adding, it's not taking.
If just like on YouTube, people want to cancel people over words, over what they believe in. Bro, if you don't believe in it, stop watching it. Just like how if you didn't like a TV show, you thought it was boring, or you didn't like what they were saying, you got the up button. Go change the channel. Simple as that. If you don't like what you hear, then change it. Don't listen to it. Don't feel like, oh, because I feel a certain way, oh, he gotta feel that way too. Bro, at the end of the day, we are all different human beings. We walk different footsteps. Everyone's step is different in each person. So you cannot sit here and think that everyone fits the same size shoe as you, or try to force their foot into the same shoe, because it would never work, ever. Everybody's body is built differently. Everybody's brain is built differently. So everybody's gonna have slight variations. Yes, some people may agree, some people may disagree, but we cannot force our rhetoric on everyone. Everyone needs to live their true self, and that's when they're going to be at their most happiest. Because the day that you convert and try to be with the populace, and when that's your true belief that you do not believe that way, when you go home outside of the public, you're gonna be like, damn, I can't do. It's gonna be a point in time where you're gonna say to yourself, I can't do this no more.
I can't do this no more.
I cannot do this no more. So what we're trying to say here, so that you don't get to that point, because usually when you get to that point of something that you don't want to do, you become way irrational, because it's somebody could fraud for only so long.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to say and try to help in a situation, which most people are not even seeing, right? If you let somebody live the way how they are, you have less violence. Because the day that they decide they don't want to be a part of something, when they've been a part of something for so long and that's not their true self, it becomes way irrational, to the point where it's gonna hurt everyone else. So if you just let that person be who they want to be, they're gonna feel happy in a sense, and everything will run smooth. You could either, you feel me, if that person feel like, being aggressive, the society is gonna put him in I guess prison or whatever have you, institute or something, right? Because that's not how you operate with normal people, and that's understandable. But because you like green, you're gonna take away somebody's complete livelihood over what they said that has nothing to do with your life, is obscene to me. You're crazy. Let's say it again. If you feel like taking away somebody's livelihood over something that has nothing to do with your current life and does not change or move the needle inside of your life, you're crazy.
Yeah, and to add to that, that means a lot of y'all are crazy. That's what's going on nowadays, and this shit is getting out of hand. A person can't even forget expressing. They're forced to share mutual feelings, mutual beliefs with people, or else. Like you said, threatening their livelihood, threatening their way of life, their freedom of life, freedom of expression. I gotta lie to you, we're kind of in a mental chokehold, to the point where it's like, for example, the idea of a dictator government, right? Everybody who understands what a dictatorial government consists of. We're basically doing that, just maybe not necessarily. We're living that, just basically. Maybe not necessarily from the government, just in a sense of a mental way. We're living in a dictator
community.
Community. Yeah.
Community.
That's what I'm saying. It's just it's kind of using the methods of a dictator government that they would instill. It's like, okay, if you don't abide by this, then we're gonna take away your business. If you don't abide by this, then you don't own your house. If you don't abide by this, then we're gonna jail you. That's what typically goes on. And now we're doing this to each other without the government.
Because put like this, right? Let me say this one thing before I forget. Put like this. I say this to people all the time. What you do to others, think how it would be done to you. So say the same rhetoric that you're trying to force on other people, how would you feel if somebody tried to take away everything that you worked for, your family, your kids, because that's basically what happens when you go for somebody's livelihood. You destroy one part, it destroys everything else. Imagine somebody trying to come after you because of words that you said, not even directly to the person that you're
Yeah, that
talking
weren't
to.
really harmful.
Weren't
We're not
harmful
talking
at
about
all.
harmful, threatening words. We're talking about
Like if I like Apple, I like the company, but people like Android, and people are coming after you because you like Apple, your livelihood. That is crazy.
and that's essentially what's happening right
And
now.
it's exactly what's happening.
Small, insignificant shit like that is literally causing people to have their ways of lives threatened. The fact that I like this and you don't like this, or you like this and I don't like that. Like, I'm not telling you to come join me or come participate in how I live. Also, you shouldn't be forcing me. So, what I want to say to the people who all this really gets to happen, why? Because there is a group of people, and in terms of percentage or number, whatever, I'm not too familiar with that. But there are people that give in to these pressures so easily, and it's becoming more and more common
Yeah.
as time goes on. You have the person who was once so stubborn and so set in their ways and so standing firm on their, principles and their morals, that all of a sudden they got a corny ass job that if they don't accept this, then they can no longer be a part of this company. And people are giving into that. And unfortunately, like, I get it. Like, yeah, people are trying to live and you want to, have your steady income and have your security of being able to live. But are you really living?
No.
You're not really living. You know what I'm
No.
saying?
And I would say this. If we don't put a stop to this soon, if somebody doesn't speak up against it, if a collaborative people don't speak up against it, we're going to be treading towards a reality in which everything is just made up. We're going to be living in a dream world. Because if somebody can threaten your livelihood on whatever they want, bro, we're not going to be able to live our lives at all. And that's a very scary thing to look at. Very scary thing to look at.
Yeah, the word individual might as well be non-existent.
Yeah.
The word individual has no meaning.
Individually, like it's just not a thing. You can't be yourself. So in that case, we are a collaborative. That's it.
In all aspects of life, we all do the same thing. We all like the same thing. We all dislike the same thing. We all want the same thing. We all do the same thing. Like, everything we do is it's an automated world. Like, you could basically you could use a simulation. You could go on a computer and simulate by just coding everything in whatever you make, whatever world, a fake world you make, virtual world you make, you create, that everybody is the exact same. Might as well have the same hair, same eye, same nose, same height, same weight.
Eat the same food.
Eat the same food.
Go to the same gym. Let's say have the same leisures, like go play basketball.
You know what that kind of sounds like to me? Prison. That sounds like prison to me. They got the same amount of time outside the cells they do in the cell. They all eat the same food. And what goes on in there though, bro? Look at it let's go a little bit deeper. What ends up happening there? People start going AWOL.
Mhm.
People start losing themselves.
Because they're not able to branch out on what is being confided in them. And listen, let me tell you something. You do something to put yourself in prison, right? You deserve to have that formality because you were once free and had the freedoms to do what you want, and you chose to do something that put you in there. So that's understandable for people that are in prison or in jail, okay? But in the free world, it's called free for a reason, where you have your freedoms because you're allowed to express yourself freely. And we're trending towards a point where people are not able to express themselves how they want. And that's a very scary reality too.
For the people that are giving in and succumbing and surrendering to these outside pressures and outside forces and influencers and threats of it's either you join a side with us or we're going to take away your livelihood. I'm not trying to say that, oh yeah, just stick to your guns and let everything go downhill and get, torn apart and destroy your whole livelihood for the sake of your principle. But to a certain extent, I'm also kind of saying that because it's like, aside from violence, you got to stand. There's always more opportunity. There's always a place there's always an environment. There's always a group of people. There's always somewhere that is not going to force you to be like that. It's not going to force their ideologies and their rhetoric onto you. So you just ideally, listen, I'm a big fan of, if you don't choose, if you don't side with the one who's in the right, then you've automatically, chose the wrong side. It's kind of one of those things. It's like the time thing. If you're staying in the same place, you're not really staying in the same place. You're by default moving backwards because time keeps on going. So you can't possibly stay or claim, sanely claim that you're staying in the same place. So my whole point is, if you're choosing to not stand on your principles until you're standing on your beliefs, if you're choosing to give in to the societal pressures and for the sake of your livelihood, then by default, you've joined them. There's no like, oh, I'm just trying to live. And even though I'm not 100% on their side, I also don't want to lose my job. Nah, that's it. You joined that side. You let that pressure. Yo, listen, sometimes, I ain't even going to lie to you. Sometimes if something is that important, that meaningful to you, sometimes you got to die about shit. And I don't mean it in a violent way. I mean, like, you got to put yourself and be ready to go through the most extreme circumstances when it comes to standing on what you believe in. You are not going to come to my world, enter my brain, and destroy everything that I've took years to build and to really believe in and express and be confident in expressing those things, and just come and just change all of it for the sake of whatever, a silly ass office job. Like, you're not doing that. Like, that's why having financial freedom is very important, because usually the people who get to express themselves most freely,
the ones that have the backing of financials
and face the least repercussions and the least scary consequences, are the ones who got financial backing. So yeah, it's not easy to do that when all you got is this one job and you can't really, it's gonna be hard and can't afford to take whatever the situation is. You gotta stand on your shit.
Let me say something. And this is for majority of people, right? Let's say this. You don't have to be extreme, just like how you said. And I would disagree with you about picking a side, right? If you don't do anything. Let's say this. If you standing on what you believe and standing in your beliefs, and this is something that I heard before too, is jeopardizing your immediate life right there in that moment, you don't need to stand tall on what you believe in. Reason being, you rather fight the long fight than to end in that battle. Be able to fight the war instead of losing the battle. So if you have to conform for the time being until you're able to be at that point to where you can lead the charge, then you do so. You are more valuable leading the charge with your belief than to succumb from stubbornness, right? So sometimes being quiet is holding true to yourself. And sometimes being quiet is all that people want. If they tell you like, oh, you should believe this way, and you just stay quiet, you don't talk about what you were talking about before because you're not in the space, this position to keep on going after it, you will be in that position one day. But right now that you're not. So don't give up your beliefs Because put like this, you conform. Actually, you don't conform. You get ended right there. And then boom. Now your beliefs die with you.
Yeah, because you never got to really share that. You got crippled before you even begun.
Exactly. So the same thing with when you want to be successful. You conform to somebody else's beliefs and goals and whatever have you. Your aspirations get killed right there. They're done. So what you need to do is understand that you won't conform to your own head, because at the end of the day, your thoughts cannot be corrupted unless you let the outside corrupt them. So if you want to be successful, know that you're going to be successful. Know that this is a step back for you to get better. Because in life, there's always setbacks. So this is a setback for you to get better. But at the end of the day, know what you believe in. Stand firm in your head on what you believe in. Be truthful, be honest, and don't try to deceive or lead astray anyone in your circles, because at the end of the day, I don't care whether you're in the normalizing culture, whether you're in the, stand strong culture of what you want to do, as a totality of everyone else, most people respect a person that is true to what they say and is true in what they do. Because that's a big proponent in life. People could say one thing and completely do something else. But the only person that has honor is people that say that they're going to do something and do it. That's the only way that you get honor from other people. I don't care from what walk of earth that you are. If those things are intertwined, that's honor. What's not honor is your action not matching your words, or your words not matching your actions.
Yeah, I do want to somehow, some way, we've ended up through this whole conversation. What's been going through my mind is, unfortunately, sometimes you just got to play the game. You know what I'm saying? We were granted life on earth. You got to make do of what you got, what the current situation is. Unfortunately, a lot of this ties back to the overall bigger picture of chasing financial freedom for the sake of being in that position of power, to be able to express yourself
And just live your life, bro.
without being feeling the threat of being compromised or the threat of being diminished or destroyed. And to relate it in the most simplest way, we all know how a majority, not all, I don't like using that word, there's always exceptions, but anyway, we know how majority of court cases work, where the better your lawyer, meaning the more, you pay for your lawyer, usually, or the richer the person is that is fighting the case, the better chances they have of making out with a smaller, consequence, a lighter consequence in whatever case it is. So, life, you apply that same theory, that same equation to this game of life, where somehow, unfortunately, even with a massive amount of honor, you kind of really can't impact nothing or have any significant influence on anybody when you're in a position of being powerless, when you're in a position of, if you stepped out of line even ever so slightly, everything could just end for you. You have no more job, you can't feed your family, you feed yourself, you're whatever, struggling to make ends meet. All those things, when it's so easily stripped up from you, then it's very hard to go against whatever society is normalizing or forcing you to abide by.
Yeah.
So, somehow, some way, we're ending up in a loop situation of whatever the hell you want to do, it's got to be some money back back into it. You
I
know
mean,
what
with
I'm saying?
more money comes more resources in a sense. So that's the reason why we always send, being successful, because you're able to live your true life, and not even just the fact of, let's say, people trying to conform to what you do. You just be able to do whatever you want to do. So if you want to go on vacation, if you have more money, you're able to do that more often. If you want to help people, if you have more money, you could do that more often. Money is a resource that is used to allow to amplify things that you want to do in your life. And that just falls into form of being able to live your true self. When you have more money, you have more obligation to do so. So what we're saying in this episode, if you didn't take anything out of this, one, for anyone that's listening, anybody that's watching, you are your true self. Stand on what you believe in. Don't jeopardize yourself because you're believing in something. Understand that whatever is inside of your head and what you think is you at the end of the day. Don't let the outside corrupt and conform your mind into believing that something that you know for a fact is not your beliefs. Go to the other side and say, like, yeah, this is what I believe in. Don't allow that. And work towards being able to live your true life, because at the end of the day, when you close the doors to your house, that is your true self. Not what the public sees, not what the public hears, is what you're able to be behind closed doors. Is there anything that you want to say to the people?
Yeah, I do want to end off with, if for any reason, throughout what I said, throughout this episode, you've misunderstood what I was trying to explain as, oh, just be ready to throw your whole life away for the sake of standing on your word. I'm not trying to say that, but I am saying when something is very near and dear and personal to you, you should at least voice your displeasure with whoever's on the other side. So, okay, don't lose your job over some silly shit, but also make it verbally known and voice the fact that, listen, I might be able to, take a back seat on this or whatever, like let you guys rock. I'm not going to go to, we're not going to go engage in an all-out war over this topic, but I definitely don't support it. I'm not a fan of it. I dislike it, whatever. At least do that as a person with some honor, where it's like, I don't accept this. I got a life I want to live. I got a house I'm maintaining, whatever, family that I'm providing for. So I'm not going to risk that for something so small, but also I'm not going to give you guys the satisfaction, at least, of thinking that I've now joined you in such beliefs, in such behavior, in such ways of life, or whatever the case is. At least let it be known that you're displeased. That's all I'm asking. For the people who really, have any honor, any dignity, stop letting the outside pressure completely shut you up and sit you down like a little bitch and make you not have any opinion other than what they want, have any voice other than what they want to hear, have any thoughts other than what they think you should think. Have some respect for yourself. So at least let the people, the person, the group, whatever the situation is on the other end, know that this is definitely not, this is something that I'm not pleased with. Voice your displeasure, and, hopefully over the course of time, we can be in a more position of power to tell them, instead of I'm not happy, it's fuck you.
Yes. So, guys, stand on what you believe in and act on your beliefs and be true to yourself at the end of the day. This has been another episode of the Just and Know podcast, where we make knowledge your strongest weapon. Guys, please, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. All we're trying to do is make people better at the end of the day. If you're listening to this on any of the podcasts, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Amazon Music, please give us a follow. And guys, be great with everything that you do. Have a good one.
I got a little worked up from all of this, but now I'm going to go cool down. Have a good rest of your day. Bless up. Peace.
Peace.